Welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, today we are doing something incredibly powerful. We're literally cracking open the Cambridge Principal Examiner reports for Accounting 9706. If you've ever found yourself wondering exactly what separates a standard B grade from that elusive A star, well, the answers aren't a secret. They're actually hiding right here in these reports. So let's dive in and see exactly how the examiners marking your papers are evaluating your answers. Right out of the gate, we have this massive quote from a senior examiner. They state the difference between a B and an A star in accounting often comes down to how well you understand advantages and disadvantages of different business entities. Now think about that for a second. This isn't just some standard syllabus topic you can memorize and forget. It's the ultimate battleground for top marks. It's a major test of your critical thinking where you're evaluated on real-world application. Examiners are actively looking for your ability to evaluate, compare, and apply these concepts to highly complex scenarios. They absolutely do not just want you reciting textbook definitions. Okay, let's dive into our structural roadmap for conquering the exam today. We'll start with decoding core principles, then move into the technical methodology, followed by avoiding examiner traps, and we'll bring it all together with the A-star strategy recap. Section 1. Decoding core principles. So, what does it take to actually hit those top bands? Notice how these cognitive domains escalate. Successful candidates have to demonstrate competence across all three of these levels, not just rote memorization. Level 1 is knowledge and understanding, so your basic recall. But to grab those high tariff marks, the big 9 to 15 mark questions, the reports show you absolutely must push into Level 2 analysis and Level 3 evaluation. Think of two types of students. Let's call them Alex and Sam. Alex is highly technical, right? Excels at formulas, writes out perfectly accurate lists of facts. But that's pure Level 1. Then you have Sam. Sam is a creative thinker, really strong at arguments, but kind of lacks structural precision. To get an A-star, you need to combine Alex's hardcore precision with Sam's evaluative arguments. You have to pay attention to those command words. If the question says explain, you show your knowledge. But if it says evaluate, you are stepping into Level 3, where you literally have to weigh the alternatives against each other. The examiner reports also highlight a massive differentiator, something I like to call cross-topic integration. The data shows us that candidates who link business entity principles to entirely different syllabus areas achieve significantly higher marks. It's like a giant puzzle. For instance, when you're discussing the disadvantages of a partnership, you don't just stop at unlimited liability. You connect that concept to its direct impact on raising capital, and then subsequently explain how that affects the financial statements and liquidity ratios. See what we did there? Integrating topics shows the examiner you understand the whole theoretical architecture, rather than just treating concepts in total isolation. Section 2. The technical methodology. So the crucial point here is the method mark strategy. Marks are actually awarded for the process, not just your final answer. Examiners heavily reward the logical steps you take. Even if your final evaluative conclusion is, slightly off base, documenting a really rigorous analytical path helps you gather incredibly valuable method marks along the way. It is literally all about making your thinking process visible to the person grading your paper. To make absolutely sure you secure those method marks, the sources suggest a very specific procedural framework for tackling these complex questions. First, deconstruct the prompt by isolating the exact command words. Second, extract the relevant data from the stimulus texts. Third, select an analytical framework. Fourth, execute with really clear notation. Fifth, verify your results. And finally, present. Thinking back to our student Sam, dropping marks almost always happens by rushing that crucial extraction phase and just jumping straight into unstructured arguments. Taking the time to properly extract and select is the absolute bedrock of a high-scoring response. And a final part of that whole process is adhering to strict presentation conventions. Using proper headings, correct terminology, appropriate formats, and crystal clear annotations signals deep professionalism. The source material basically suggests you should treat the exam paper almost like a formal report that you're handing over to a corporate client. Clear layout and precise accounting terminology, rather than just, casual phrasing, reflect the practical application of professional skills that are expected at this top level. These are basically non-negotiables. Section 3. Avoiding examiner traps. And this brilliantly illustrates why we need to pay attention to this examiner alert. It says, candidates consistently confuse key terminology. Always define terms before using them in extended responses. Guys, this is a golden rule. If a question asks you to evaluate the formation of a private limited company, providing a razor-sharp definition in your very first sentence anchors your entire essay. Locking in those definitions early prevents a cascading loss of marks and instantly shows the examiner your competence. Let's systematically list out the top 3 roadblocks directly from the examiner data so you can consciously avoid them. Mistake number 1. Answers are just way too vague. Examiners absolutely demand specific, granular details over sweeping generalizations. Mistake number 2. Students forget to check their format in presentation because they're rushing against the clock. And mistake number 3. Answers are not specific to the given context. If the scenario gives you a local bakery looking to expand, your advantages and disadvantages have to relate specifically to a bakery, not just a generic textbook business. Let's look at vague memorized theory versus context-specific application to really drive this home. A vague level 1 response might just say, well, a partnership is good because there's more capital. Okay, but a context-specific application, that would say because Sarah and John are merging their bakeries into a partnership, they can combine their initial capital of $50,000 each, allowing them to purchase the commercial oven mentioned in the text, thereby immediately increasing production capacity. Boom. That second answer takes the specific data and applies the theory directly to the scenario to unlock those top marking bands. Using a comparative analysis framework really helps structure these types of responses. The descriptive level, that simply lists the traits. The analytical level explains the impact of those traits. But the evaluative level, the highest tier, requires you to identify similarities and differences using comparative connectives. Words like whereas, conversely, or in contrast to. The real key highlighted by examiners is that you have to support each of these comparisons with hard evidence from the text to draw a fully justified conclusion about which entity is better for that exact scenario. Now, here's an amazing cognitive hack for recalling all these relationships under exam pressure, the visual story method. Instead of just trying to force yourself to memorize bullet points, visualize a specific person. Maybe picture your neighbor experiencing the intense stress of unlimited liability as a sole trader, or imagine them sitting down and signing a complex partnership deed. Picture a literal, physical, legal wall of incorporation protecting their personal assets when they become a limited company. Encoding these dry concepts into a vivid visual narrative makes all those advantages and disadvantages so much easier to pull up when you're analyzing a prompt. Section 4, the A-STAR strategy recap. Let's recap the 3 core pillars of this masterclass. Number 1, define precise terminology immediately to anchor your response and secure those early marks. Number 2, deploy the 6-step procedural framework to secure your method marks. Always deconstruct, extract, and select first. And number 3, ensure absolute context specificity. Your answers have to align directly with the exact scenario they provide you in the exam. So I want to leave you with a final provocative thought. When you sit down and face your next high tariff question, are you just going to state the facts? Or will you truly evaluate the alternatives? Understanding exactly how these papers are marked definitely changes the game on how you need to prepare. Make sure to subscribe for more strategic exam breakthroughs. Thanks for hanging out with me to unpack these examiner reports, and I'll see you in the next explainer.